Welcome to another episode of Chasing the Wind. I'm Pastor Mark. Let's see where the wind is blowing today. Actually, it's been blowing around here and where I live pretty bad. We actually got a couple inches of snow. It's supposed to be spring, and I'm wearing a fleece. Underneath, I got a polo shirt on. But anyway, let's see where the wind's blowing today. I want to talk to you about something that came to me recently. I was in a gathering, and there was a couple people sharing. They were laymen. They were not pastors, but they were sharing about how they share Jesus in their workplace. And I knew of all of the speakers. And one in particular shared, I love this guy. He's just a great guy. We're good, pretty good friends. And he is not, if you saw him, and even to his own admission, you would not guess that he was a believer, because he just doesn't, as he put, fit the mold of a typical Sunday Christian. And he doesn't. But this guy loves the Lord. And he made the comment, he's just genuine. And knowing him, and I know what he meant, and he kind of explained himself a little bit, that, he went somewhere and told him he was there to talk to a group of kids or something. And they said, oh, he's like, we didn't expect someone like you. They expected, someone a little more refined, maybe, is what it was. But here's what troubled me as I sat there. And I'm a people watcher. I observe things. But one of the persons who was in charge of this event sat over there. And when he said, I'm not your typical church person, I'm just genuine, they clapped for him. I don't know they clapped for him, knowing this person, what I do know of them. They clapped for the concept, because I know that they have judgments about church people. And it has bothered me for several days as I have pondered this and talking to the Lord about it, because I know what this gentleman meant when he said, and he does not look like many church people I know, but knowing him, I know this guy's about as genuine, loves the Lord with all his heart, soul, mind, and strength. But I also know a man who was one of my heroes in the faith, who passed away during COVID and did not get the funeral that he should have had. There should have been people lined up to honor this man. But every Sunday showed up in a 3-piece suit. And I'm going to tell you something. He would have been considered a typical Sunday Christian. And knowing that a little bit about this other person who clapped for my friend, would have probably not wanted to be around my friend who passed away, who was a Sunday Christian. But I will tell you, there are few people I know of who lived a holy life for Jesus, like my friend Dana Douglas. And I was very put out by it, because I know the attitude of this person, and they've expressed it, has almost a disdain for anything traditional church. Hymns, whatever. The way you dress, as I always tell my church, I will never wear skinny jeans on the platform, and they thank me for it every time I tell them that. I was bothered by this, folks. Because the very people, and I've seen this for 30 some years of ministry, the very people that say, well, those hymns, you can't worship with those hymns. My question is, why not? Is worship about you, or is it about God? Why can't you worship to those hymns? Matter of fact, it's fun when I pull out a hymn with people that don't know the hymn. They're like, that's a really cool song. I've never heard it before. Oh, you mean it's a new song to you? Oh, And here's what I've observed over the years, people, is the people, the more contemporary Christian people are like, those old people, they just don't want to change. They don't want to do anything different. It's got to be their way or the highway. And yet I've found that those contemporary people that want only the more recent songs and stuff are actually, they have the same attitude that they blame the more traditional Christians, worshiper. It's the same thing. They are as stuck and stubborn as they accuse older, more traditional Christians for. As I like to say, if you spot it, you got it. So it's begged the question for me, and I know I'm using that phrase wrong, but it sounds cool. What is a genuine Christian? I had a dear old saint in one of my churches, and that's a statement of faith, by the way, regarding this person. She said, it was summer. We were in an area that was really, really hot, and I did a buzz cut for the summer. She came into church, saw my buzz cut, and she goes, "Oh, Pastor Jesus would never wear his hair like that." To which I said, "Yeah, you're right. It probably would have been long and down to his shoulders." No. He would have wore his hair like any good Christian young man would. So now we tell Jesus how he's supposed to be. And we've been, I love the phrase, God created man in his own image. We've been returning the favor ever since. We've been creating God in our image ever since. And here is one of the things I loved about my church is Dana would show up in his three-piece suit. And yet there would be someone there in blue jeans and a t-shirt. And Dana never looked down on him. And yet how many people would look down on Dana because he wore a three-piece suit? What is a genuine Christian? I was reading as I'm reading through the New Testament and just truly enjoying what I'm reading, and was reading Paul's letter to Titus. And he was talking about, and it just kind of hit me. He goes, "This statement is true. Therefore, rebuke them sharply so that they will be sound in the faith." Sound in the faith. "And will pay no attention to Jewish myths or to commands of those who reject the truth. To the pure, all things are pure. But to those who are corrupted and do not believe, nothing is pure. In fact, both their minds and consciences are corrupted. They claim to know God, but by their actions they deny him. They are detestable, disobedient, unfit for doing anything good." Wow. And then Paul goes really on to really, he talks, what is a genuine Christian, though? Was Dana genuine? I'm going to tell you, he was as genuine as the day is long. And before we criticize and we drive off all those old people that are hindering the church from moving forward, and I guide young pastors about this, do not get rid of them. Those people will pray for you. They will love you. They will support you. They will come alongside you if you treat them with some respect, knowing that they paved the way for what you have. We are one of the only countries in the world that disregards the elderly. The mature, those have some experience under the belt. Heard a Samoan pastor one time. I was talking to him. They met in our church, one of our churches we pastored. And I said, "What are you doing today?" They met after us. And, he goes, "After church, we're going to go over to the old woman's house." And I'm like, "The old one?" I'm just appalled. He called her the old woman. He goes, "Mark, in our culture, that's a compliment. That is a great statement of respect. The old woman. Oh, you're going to we look at us, "Oh, yeah, you're going to the old lady's house." They're like, "No, we're going to the old woman's house, and we're going to glean something more than food here." I want to caution us to be careful that we judge those who are a little bit different than us. It'd be very easy for me to judge my friend who says he's genuine and does not look like traditional Sunday Christians, which is very interesting because I don't really know what that means anymore. I know what people mean by it, but My congregation, it can mean anything. I don't even wear a suit and tie anymore. Sometimes I will. Easter, Christmas maybe. I think we got to be really, really careful. Because if we're told not to judge, and we're to judge those inside the church, I get it, but if we're to say, well, you're not a genuine Christian by the way you dress, my goodness. I think Samuel said God doesn't look at the outside appearance, he looks at the heart. And it really makes me question, yeah, I'll just say it makes me question the heart of the guy who clapped. That maybe he's not a genuine Christian. Maybe he needs to check himself and he needs to say, God, search me and know my heart. And that probably sounds a little judgmental on my part, but you know what? He's in the church and I need to judge him. I need to say, wait a minute. And maybe at some point the Lord will open the door for me to go talk to him. And it's hard. I was reading in 2 Timothy where Paul talked about a certain group of people. He goes, have nothing to do with them. And I'll be honest with you. There's a part of me, I don't know that I want to have anything to do with this person. Not Dana. I long for Dana to come back and him and I have a cup of coffee and talk about God. I'm not sure I'm ready to have a conversation with the other guy. Not my friend, but the other guy who clapped and seems to think that genuine Christians look different than what he thinks. And yet he would probably judge those who think the otherwise and would judge him for maybe not looking. Boy, I don't want anybody to look at me that way and say, well, that's not a good Christian. They probably do, and maybe they're right and maybe they're wrong. I don't know. I think we need to really stay focused on the Lord. To love the Lord our God with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength, and he'll take care of the rest. That we hang out with people that really say, you know what? God will help you. I never tell anybody, here's how you should dress. I think there's some people that shouldn't dress the way they do to church, to be honest with you. It's like we don't use real wine when we take communion at my church because there's some people that might take who might have a problem with alcohol, and I don't want to stir them up with that. It's just like I had a friend who had a sexual addiction, and he could not look at certain pictures and stuff because, just a woman in a spaghetti strap dress because it showed too much, and he couldn't handle it. And so maybe someone shouldn't dress a certain way on the platform if they're leading worship. Well, that's the way I have the right to do it. Yeah, you do. Paul said that. He goes, you can do what you want because you need to think about other people. And maybe that's going to be a problem for someone. And if you can't do that, that means the problem is probably with you. And it's all about you. It's not about helping someone along the way. Boy, I'm on a roll here, aren't I? I'm going to give you a lot to think about there and probably talk about too. Maybe you know someone that needs to see this video and you need to watch it. And maybe a video is not going to change someone's life, but maybe it'll change yours. Maybe it'll get you thinking a little bit differently. And you might even think, well, Pastor Mark's not a very good pastor. He doesn't have a suit on today. Yeah, you're right. Maybe I'm not. Probably won't change the message. But we're to clothe ourselves with Jesus and the things of God, not the things of man and our opinions. And maybe we just need to take a look at that today. Especially going into Easter. I'm going into Easter weekend as I'm doing this Maundy Thursday, recording this. And a lot of things we need to think about this weekend, isn't there? So I'm going to let you think about them. So keep chasing the wind chasers, because the wind is chasing you. Until next time, I'm Pastor Mark. Grace and peace. Thanks for joining me.